This is Soccer 101 with Moon and Rocchio.
Welcome back to Soccer 101. Let's get right to it, Rock. That was a rough weekend, and I have bad news on top of bad news on top of a match review that was pretty much nothing but bad news, other than some possession stats, which I don't care about at all anymore. So let's talk a little bit about the weekend, about the FC Dallas match and loss. Dropped more points to a terrible team that just fired their coach, and then we will get to an update on Celio Pompeu and his broken leg. We'll update you a little bit there. We have huge news in another player that we've lost, this time not to injury, but he's been traded. And then we'll talk a little bit about City 2, and we'll get into the match preview of the midweek match coming up this week. Rock, what the heck? STL City SC loses 2-0 to a crap-ass FC Dallas team. What do you have to say about it?
That was a weird game. It was another ugly game in just the smallest amounts of time, and that's when the game was decided. And I think the thing that jumps out to me the most is that while the first 30 minutes or so were a little bit uneven, you never felt like Dallas was actually threatening in the first 30 minutes or so. And then outside of the penalty that gets called on Dallas, which I think a lot of people have pointed out some very questionable parts of that penalty call, you take away that score, and then you look at about the 30-minute mark through halftime up till about the 70-minute mark of the game, and City was controlling the ball the entire time. They had Dallas pinned in their area the whole time. Dallas was rarely, if ever, attacking. The announcers of the game were just blown away by how little Dallas was trying to extend their lead after that penalty in the first place. And in fact, Moon, one of the stats, one of the graphs we're going to throw up from our friends at MLS Stat on X shows the field control of the game. That is an insane visual representation to show that they controlled the ball in every single part of the field except for directly in front of Dallas's goal. And if you look at all the other games they've never had a control map look like that. So to lose a game like that, and to lose a game where, if you look at the final third stats that we're going to throw up now, to lose a game where you completely blew them away in your ability to move the ball into the box, progress the ball from midfield into the attacking third, and get things going actually in the box. And none of this matters because for two little moments, you screwed up and you went down 2-0. And in all those other moments when you were controlling the ball, every single great shot you had, it didn't matter because no one could finish again. And while if you break down and look at every single shot that João Klauss took, it was a pretty solid game for him. The fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, the results aren't there, and there's going to be a point where all my analysis and all my statistics and all the fact of the matter of, well, you controlled the game, doesn't matter because points are what get you into the playoffs, and right now you're sitting at 18 points through 17 games, and it simply isn't good enough.
You gotta finish. They have to finish. Again, I'm going to call in to question some of the instincts of the defense, but you said the words that you said when you began speaking, you said something about the announcers mentioning how little Dallas was trying to extend a lead. But here's the point, man. These guys don't have to try so hard, and they're still beating us. We've had teams that are not trying hard to beat us, but they're still winning. And what I mean by that is, last year, even Sporting KC in the playoffs, they kind of figured out our game and they let us somewhat beat ourselves and didn't have to try so hard to outscore us in a way. When you're losing games where teams aren't trying hard to outscore you, like there's clearly a fundamental maybe a few fundamental pieces that are missing. And, of course, as you mentioned, it's not possession. You're showing me all these graphs that you've got all the time. I mean, it just looks like ridiculous domination from St. Louis City SC, and yet they couldn't finish the ball. Yeah, Klauss had a couple opportunities that were at least on goal. Their goalie had some great saves.
Player of the week candidate across the MLS. Doesn't he said Pass was amazing.
For sure, he was great. He kept him. I want to say kept him in the game, but I mean that's a ridiculous thing to say. They won 2-0. And then you go further, and you can argue a bit about the call in the box, but that's kind of going to go that way 51% of the time, and it's how you play the game. Is it a penalty?
Yeah, here's the thing about that play. Everyone wants to talk about, well, it's shoulder to shoulder, it's a tangle up of the feet. That's not why that gets called, and the broadcast did do a good job of pointing it out. Why that got called is because of Joakim puts his arm in his back and extends. That's why it gets called. If it's just shoulder to shoulder contact, that's not a penalty. But Joakim does a little bit too much, and that's what makes the call. Same thing how Tim Parker. I understand that you're trying to stop the game because Joakim Nilsson's hurt. But if you just stop the game with a 30% less penalty, you're playing on Wednesday because you're not out for accumulation. It was just a little bit too much, and it cost City.
Yeah, so let me just try to get a little bit personal and go with like a coaching perspective, at least, and I've done very little coaching, but this is what I would do and say as a coach perspective. I was not a great player, especially when I was like playing competitively.
Mm-hmm.
I was not a great skilled player, but I worked harder than everybody that I knew, which is why I made all the teams that I was able to make, and I try to be as smart as possible. And something that I would tell these players, especially these defenders, are the way to win or lose some of those 50-50 calls where a ref is kind of like, oh, I don't know which way to go, is just body language, confidence, and what your moment-to-moment attitude is in each play. And what I'm saying is, as a defender, if you get beat, you almost have to sell that you weren't beat. You have to have this just absolute confidence in your body style, in your play, in your physicality, in all of it. The little difference of looking confident rather than frantic, like you're recovering from something. He looks like in our back line, if you see them, they're turning their head a lot, like they're getting beat and they're turning and then they're sprinting and they're recovering. And to a ref, if you've got some Rio Ferdinand, Vidic kind of John Terry sort of energy, you've got this controlled defensive, you can knock people over and actually foul people and not get called because of the difference in your body language. It looks more like defending rather than frantically recovering. I hope that makes sense. I hope I articulated that correctly. But as defenders, these guys, they just seem instinctless as far as where to be and how to move and where to anticipate things. And again, if you get beat, if you're behind somebody that's in the box and they're controlling the ball, you have to have this dominant sort of body language. And it's not just for your opponents. It is for the tone of the game, and sometimes it's for the refs. And I'm not saying it's manipulation of the ref. I'm just saying that psychologically speaking, for a ref to look at that, and they have to make a 50-50 call, if you look frantic, if you look like you're doing a last-ditch effort sort of thing, like Thorisson putting his arm up and kind of bodying in that way, it's going to go against you more than it's going to go for you.
Yeah, I completely agree. One other thing I wanted to throw out, because again, I think this, as much as we want to give the defense, criticize the defense, and they let up some big holes, that's just, it's not the thing I think anyone's focusing on right now, including City. Now, it might become a bigger thing because you're extremely thin, and that's going to be a big factor tomorrow, or on Wednesday night, I should say, because Tim Parker is now out for the game, suspended because of yellow card accumulation. Joakim Nilsson, we do not have a final prognosis on him, but he will not be playing after pulling his hammy and that tightening up on him. He's not going to play on Wednesday. So you're down to Josh Yarrow. Hebert, I don't think, is back from Canada, the Canada squad yet. So you're down to Yarrow, and it looks like some City 2 players. So Tyson Pierce, who nominally plays left back, and Wenzel, who is a center back, have been practicing with the team. They will be practicing with the team, I'm sure, this week leading up to Wednesday night's game. So I'm sure we're going to see one, if not both of those. So the defense, a little bit problematic now with the depth, but honestly, it's just the lack of finishing continues to be the big thing with the offense. I do want to point out that against Dallas on Saturday, you had 8 shots on target, which is the most they've had this season.
Yeah, and a good performance from their keeper, which kept the score what it was. But dude, listen, when you're talking about replacements,
it wasn't a bad game from Klauss, and that's the thing that annoys me. I understand that we can't only talk about this game in the vacuum of the one game, which is that it doesn't matter that Klauss had a good game because it's part of a string of games where he simply isn't finishing good enough. But I do need to point out, if you watch that game and just keep an eye on Klauss the whole game, it actually was a very positive game for João Klauss, and all the numbers say that he was a positive player from you. He added XG as a passer, as a shooter, so on and so forth. I don't know when he wants to hear that because it's a 2-0 loss, but it is material, and I do want to throw that out there. Also, if we're talking about the game, you're talking about defenders. I need to hear your thoughts. I guess react first to my Klauss comments, and then I need your thoughts on one other player from the Dallas game.
Well, Klauss, I think he's getting a lot of heat, because he's not putting points up, he's not finishing. I think it's undeserved. I think you're right. He did have a decent match, better than
his positioning was fantastic. His running and his times were perfect. I mean, you cannot ask for a better combination of hold-up play in the midfield, pressing play as a pressing striker, and then his ability to actually make runs and make himself available for passing. He was great in that game. Yeah,
finishing makes the difference. I think. He's people are really all over him. I saw the whole fraud alert tweet probably 50 times more than deserved, and that's a bummer. But that's the kind of heat you're going to catch. Hopefully, he can get some finishes soon.
Yeah, the number 9 comes with a big paycheck and a lot of expectations, and that's just kind of the way it is.
For sure, and speaking of expectations, with Lowen back in there, he's delivering balls, and you can just see the disappointment in his face when he delivers something and there's no finish, there's no result, there's no nice assist from it. But man, are we really missing? And we're not missing Joakim's numbers or Stroud's goals or something like that, but we're just missing a little bit of confidence and intensity, and just some grit, if you will. Like, I hate to say that Stroud was the grit of the team or anything, because he wasn't necessarily. But
he brought it. He brought it sometimes, man. He would put his nose in there.
He did, and he moved. He was a hustler. Yep. He was a hustler.
Worked
and right
well in
now,
this game.
I feel like the only hustle that I'm seeing fear based, and that sucks.
We're gonna catch a lot of hell for this part right here, but I'm kind of with you on the Nico thing. I like Nico, and obviously he put up numbers, and so people hearing us say that you're not really missing those numbers, I think is going to be a little bit of a jarring aspect. But for me, Nico just felt like a very solid poacher last year for St. Louis City, in that he was a good passer outside the box, but inside the box, he wasn't necessarily creating his own shot or really blasting like a super impressive one. It was just right place, right time, good positioning. And so, again, I'm with you that the numbers haven't been replaced by Nico, but I don't know if I've necessarily felt a huge hole on this team, a huge Nico-sized hole on this team necessarily.
No, I agree with you there. I don't think we have a Nico hole, but what we are missing is a real option when Klauss is kind of needing to clear his head and maybe try something slightly different or something like that. Nico, for me, was more or less a strategic option to sort of give some breathing room to the attacking strategies, game to game. It just left you an option where. Again, if there was so much pressure on Klauss and he's getting opportunities, they're just not going in, whether it's luck or skill or whatever it may be. You kind of throw Joakim in there just to kind of keep defenses on their toes. I think it also put a little bit of pressure on Klauss in a good way, and also removed a lot of pressure when we would try new things. And Nico was a new thing, in comparison to Sam or into Klauss. When you compared what those weapons are and what you have to do with those weapons, Nico was just a nice option. Now Stroud, I'm missing Stroud in the midfield just because the guy wasn't afraid to kind of beat people up a little bit here and there and beat himself up for it. I don't see many people on this team beating themselves up for it. I see themselves, again, only hustling when it's fear-based, and that's so scary to me. And going back to defense, just to comment on your comment on the thinness of our defense right now, there may never be a better time to have the defense be so thin than when we're just bottom of the table. I would much rather it be right now than top of the table, because maybe this is where we see a hero come out of this City 2 team.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jake Nerwinski. Oh no, I thought about that halfway through. I think Nerwinski, actually, there's a very good chance he's starting at one of the center back spots on Wednesday. That
what
makes
are
a
we?
lot of sense.
What are we missing? Oh no, our defense is thin. This guy's out. This guy's out. What are we missing? Any points? No, we lost to FC Dallas.
That's a really good point.
We're missing nothing. This is a positive time.
This is going to circle around here later on when we talk about the potential new addition for City, which is, I think, calmness in the midfield might be where the Nico hole is, because he wasn't the hair on fire kind of player that, Indy, Celio to a point, obviously AZ. A lot of these guys that are in your attacking midfield and your wing, they're chaotic players because that's the scheme you play. I think Nico was very just like methodical in what he did, and so that's why it made sense when he was the playmaker at the top of the three-man striker triangle, where you had Klauss and Sam let them do their thing, but then Nico's going to be the passing one. He's going to be the distributor, the playmaker between those three. And so I think maybe that calmness in the midfield is where they've missed Nico. But the good thing is, I think that's what they might be bringing in with that new midfielder we're going to talk about later on in the show coming over from Germany. But before we talk about a new midfielder coming in, Moon, we have to talk about the news that went final on Tuesday. I guess we should say morning, as it happened before noon. The news that went final on Tuesday morning, which is Azeel Jackson, has been traded from St. Louis City SC to the Columbus Crew for $650,000 in general allocation money. It can go all the way up to $900,000 in general allocation money, depending on certain conditional requirements, if he hits certain bars and so on and so forth. So that's the move to Columbus Crew for AZ Jackson. By the way, this kind of completes the move, the original move for AZ Jackson. He came to City for $150,000 in 2023 general allocation money, plus $75,000 in conditional money. There was also a 20% sell-on fee for Minnesota United, but that fee was for if he was sold outside of the MLS. So no 20% going to the Minnesota United. You pretty much get to keep all of that profit. And I really like this move, and really, when you just look at it as a move of an asset, I really think this is an impressive move by Lutz because, first of all, a low-risk move to bring him in. He's then a crucial part of your very first team as a rotationary spot of your midfield and your wingers. In year two, he regresses. Maybe he hits a wall as a young player. And despite that, with him probably not being able to get a lot of minutes coming up in year three or the rest of year two, you're able to move him for a significant profit. I mean, that, in my opinion, is just a great example of moves by Lutz Van den Stiel. I mean, a low-impact move, but you still get a profit for a guy while getting impact while he's still on the roster and still getting profit for him while he was seemingly hitting a wall for you this season. I think this is a great move for City.
Leave it to me to make it about myself and be ridiculous, but I'm going to point to this guitar right here. It's really fast. It's really awesome, but I don't use it as much as I really could or should, and if I sold it, I would really miss it. But if I got more than it's worth, and I just bought it 2 years ago,
that's a really good description of AZL Jackson.
It's a good move. You know what I'm saying? Like this guitar.
That breaks it
right
down. That's a great way to phrase it.
I love this guitar when I use it. I really have a good time. It's
I've
quick.
Been one
it's
of
fast.
The biggest AZ honks from day one. But it's a smart move.
Yeah, you're right. It's a lot of people. Oh, my buddy Dan was texting me. He's like, "What happened?" Because we're gonna miss his speed. Yeah, we're gonna miss his speed. But were we using it all that much anyway?
Unfortunately, that was one thing this team didn't need. This team needed, like I was just talking about with Nico, this team needed a little bit more calm factor, a little bit more precision, I think, in addition to so many other chaotic parts.
Yeah.
And AZ's, listen, he's going to be incredible for Columbus. He's a perfect fit for their system. He's going to succeed. This is going to annoy people in 2 years when he's doing really well, and people are like, how did you get rid of him? He gets sold to like some Bundesliga team for $4 million, and people are going to say, wow, that's a waste of money from St. Louis City. But remember now, not with hindsight 2020, remember now in the moment, that he went from playing the majority of games last year and giving you a goal and 6 assists across all competitions to not starting in the last 8 games after starting the first 8 games and giving you 0 goals and 0 assists in MLS competitions this year. He had hit a wall. which is nothing to say anything about him or about City's system. Sometimes it just happens with a player. They call it sophomore slump for a reason. There's a reason why it's got its whole other name. He hit a sophomore slump. The best thing for that is a change of pace, new scenery, and he goes to a team which plays a scheme even better, if not the same fit for him. I love this for AZ, and I love this for City. Sometimes moves can be better for both sides.
Rocc knows his soccer. Rocc knows his rosters. Yeah, I agree with you. This is totally mutually beneficial for both teams. And congratulations to AZ for being worth a good amount to St. Louis City to sell him like that, or to trade him for that GAM money. And good for you, man. You get to go to a competitive team that's vying for a playoff spot right now. Columbus is currently sitting sixth in the East.
They got some talent on that squad, obviously.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're 2 points out of top 4. So hey, good for Jackson.
And that's with, by the way,
good for St. Louis.
Let's credit them. That's with them having to play in even the most congested schedule of an MLS team because they went the furthest in CONCACAF. So, I mean, that's extremely impressive for what they're doing. That's a great team. If I'm him, I'm pretty happy right now.
Yeah, they're a point behind Charlotte and 2 points behind New York City, and they have 3 matches in hand to Charlotte. So they're doing fine, and I think they've just strengthened their roster. And we've strengthened our ability to bring in some talent over the summer. So
now
that's good. We wish them well.
That's the big thing when it comes to this move, which is kind of what brought about this move. Why did this move happen? And I think that's the bigger thing that comes of this, which is what happened over the weekend, which we didn't get to talk about yet, Moon, which was all the reports around St. Louis City circling the signing of St. Pauli attacking midfielder Marcel Hartel. I apologize if I'm getting the name wrong. It was hard for me to find a video where people actually said his name, but we're going to go with Marcel Hartel right now for the pronunciation. A little bit about him. St. Pauli, by the way, is a team in the second Bundesliga who just won promotion to Bundesliga, and Pauli was the catalyst. He was the star of this team for St. Pauli. He obviously was incredible for this team. The numbers, 21 goals and 15 assists in 37 games across all competitions. So 36 goal contributions across 37 games across all competitions. This looks like a perfect attacking piece for St. Louis City. I do want to give a little background here because he was actually supposed to go to Columbus. They had actually locked up this deal, it seemed like, 100%. But the Crew then kind of bumbled the deal at the very end. There was an offer deal in the region of 1.5. All of this, by the way, is coming from Manuel Veth's incredible reporting over at Transfer Market. So Crew had offered a contract around $1.5 million, but the deal fell through, and that's when St. Louis City swooped in to make their deal on Hartel. It's going to cost them $350,000 to buy the discovery rights from Columbus, because obviously they had those because they were about to sign him. So that's why these deals, while not technically connected, are undoubtedly connected, because Crew misses the ball on this one. Therefore, they need an attacking player to come in and give them some depth. So they're not going to get Hartel. So they say, okay, fine, let's go ahead and buy AZ Jackson from St. Louis City. That's going to cost us, for now, $650K. They're going to give us back $350K for the discovery rights to Hartel. Now St. Louis City is going to get Hartel. So these moves are connected, but in a way they're also, because technically they shouldn't be, they're not connected. So AZ out, but Marcel Hartel, July 18th, so far, not 100% announced, but every reporting says it's pretty much done. Marcel Hartel will be the third addition to St. Louis City in the summer transfer window. And again, Moon, we're going to take a look at some of his numbers. I love this move, and I hate that you have to pay $350,000 for these discovery rights. That's dumb, but good for City for ponying up the exact same amount of money it cost LA to buy the discovery rights for Marco Royce. That shows that this organization, despite some weird tertiary fans complaining about them being cheap, this organization spends money when they know they have to, and when it's smart to spend the money.
Yeah, and it's really interesting too. You sent over some graphs just comparing.
Yeah, let's throw up some of those graphs here to kind of just look at them. Let's just look at right off the bat just the overall Marcel Hartel graph, just to kind of see what kind of player he is. And this is why I actually think he's such a fascinating fit for St. Louis City, because what you see there, you see the attacking is the kind of the teal color there, possessions in yellow and defendings in red. Don't worry about the defending. We have enough players on City who do that as attackers. I'm not worried about him being a presser, but clearly he can do it a little bit. You see clearances and interceptions, not a bad number for him there. But there's a lot of teal there, a lot of attacking for a guy who's an attacking midfielder. That's what I like about Hartel, because right now you have Edward Leuven back in the center midfielder, who's an incredible playmaker. You have João Klauss in front, who's a very good passer for a striker. It seems to me like the perfect guy to link those two players up is a midfielder who, while you think he should be in a position to always be the passer, is actually an extremely good finisher, an extremely good shooter of the ball. So right now, he seems like a perfect combination with Leuven and Klauss. And also, if you look at the passing numbers, well, again, they're not nearly the level of Edward Leuven, and we're going to show you that in a moment. He seems like he'd be just a fine combination with Cedric Teuchert as well. Because you don't forget, it's not just going to be Klauss up there playing striker. Once July 18th rolls around, Cedric Teuchert is still coming here to St. Louis City. We're going to have a new striker to throw in there. But I think Hartel looks like the perfect center attacking midfielder for this City 4-2-3-1 formation if we want to kind of simplify things.
I think you're right, man. Like this is a math game, and you've really displayed this well. The non-penalty goals, the number of assists, and even when he's up there, kind of compared to Leuven, his touches, his progressive passes, like. Oh,
that's the big thing there.
We got somebody that can possess and move while possessing, who's also a skilled goal scorer and assister. So where have you been all our 2 years?
Let's pull up the number between Edward Leuven and Marcel Hartel, like you just said. So Hartel isn't going to be in the red there. And you can see there the part where the red overtakes the blue is non-penalty goals and non-penalty XG. He's a scorer in addition to being a passer, where Leuven really isn't a scorer, he's just a playmaker. But still, the shots total, the assists, the expected assisted goals, all shot creating actions, those both Hartel and Leuven are 99th percentile players relative to their other league's midfielders at shot creating actions. That's where they overlap, but again, you got to look at where they don't overlap. Leuven's a better defensive player. That's why you want him back in the center midfield, while you want Hartel up in the attacking midfield, because right there, Leuven, a lot more blue in those defending stats at the bottom of this graph as opposed to the red stats for Hartel defending. And then you look at the other thing, again, Edward Leuven, progressive passes, progressive carries, successful take-ons. He's better in all of that from Hartel. But the thing with Leuven is he has to be, because he's carrying the ball, sometimes receiving it from the defense in your middle third or even defending third, and he's carrying the ball all the way to the attacking third when he makes that final killer pass. Where's the red part where Hartel jumps back out on that lower right side of this graph, though, Moon? Touches in the attacking penalty and progressive passes received. Again, this is a guy who, while he might make that final pass to Klauss inside the box, he's going to be the guy who receives the pass from Leuven. That's what I'm talking about. That's why everything about him seems like he's the absolute perfect combination. You have Leuven in the midfield here. You got Klauss up here. You need somebody between the two to connect them. That's where Marcel Hartel goes.
Yeah, I think this could really work out. Like by the numbers, by the charts, this is something to look forward to. So hopefully by the end of the summer, we have a different tone every time we come back on to review a game.
Let's look at one other thing I want to throw out there, just as we wrap up the Hartel discussion, which is I want to throw up the Hartel versus Klauss graph here, because when I talk about
that one is fascinating.
Yes, because
he is everything that Klauss. We wish Klauss was, and Klauss covers everything that Hartel is not.
And mind you, at the top of the graph you see there, Klauss's graph is against other forwards, where Hartel's graph is against other attacking midfielders and wingers. But you see what I was talking about there. Look at Klauss's passing and touch numbers as a forward. They are huge. Successful take-ons, touches in the penalty, progressive pass received, progressive passes, progressive parries. Everything Klauss does in blue on that bottom right side, that shows you when we talk about him being more of a false nine than a true striker. He's not always playing forward. He's not always pushing the line. He's coming back, and he's making progressive passes. He's carrying the ball too. But then, where does Hartel outshine Klauss on this graph? Assists, non-penalty XG, non-penalty goals, non-penalty XG plus expected assists. So all the things that you do to be a goal creator, whether it's scoring the goal or assisting on the goal, that's where Hartel actually outpaces Klauss in a lot of these ways. So again, he's more of a scoring midi, whereas Klauss is more of a playmaking striker. And I really think when you have players who kind of don't fit a prototypical positional bent, you need another player to go with them who also is a little bit of a different player for his position. So again, if you don't have a if you have a playmaking striker, then you need a goal-scoring midi to pair with him. And so I really just love this pairing. I don't know how well it maybe works necessarily with Löwen, Hartel, and then Toyshirt, because Toyshirt is more of your out-and-out striker. I don't care, though, because Toyshirt will find ways to get Toyshirt goals. I love this combination because I just feel like this is finally getting the spine of the team outside of the defense finally figured out. And if your defense is healthy, the spine of this team, João Klauss, designated player. Maybe he gets moved down to a TAM. Edward Löwen, designated player. Marcel Hartel, designated player. Tim Parker and Joakim Nilsson, TAM-level players, 2 your highest-paid players. And then behind them, your goalkeeper, designated player, and Berkey. That's the spine of this team. And every single one of those players is a gamer.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, let's speaking of bones, you mentioned spine, and it just made me think of the fibula. And man, when Celio, I don't know if this was the curse. I don't know what we did. You know, the Riz show has a particular curse. If we say people's names, things happen. And of course, what do I say? Hey, Celio Pompeu is really coming into his own. Everybody watch him on this next match. He's the only bright spot on the team right now. And then he goes down. But he did undergo a successful surgery on Sunday to repair the ankle dislocation and fibula fracture that he suffered in the match against Dallas. I did not get to see it live. I saw it on like a highlight reel later, and ew, it was gross. Did you watch that live there,
Yeah,
Rocc?
and the worst part is it was an unnecessary play. That's the worst part for me, is that Celio didn't need to take the line he took to body out the player to get to the ball. Maybe he doesn't get to the ball 100%, but I don't think he needed to do it, and that's the saddest part, because all he's doing is hustling. I'm not trying to knock Celio for making the play. My point is that all he was doing what he does every time, which is giving 100% every time, not ever wanting to lose the ball, never having. You know, he's everything great about Brazilian stereotypes when it comes to soccer players, and nothing of the negative. The guy is a hard-nosed player. He will tackle hard. He will get stuck in. He will get on the ground and get mired in the dirt to win a ball. And so he's always making that play, but it's probably just like a 50-50 ball anyway. And so I just hate that it didn't need to happen the way it did either. Because if he doesn't make that tackle, he doesn't get the guy's not there to get tangled up with him. So I hate it in all those ways. And then obviously the fact that he was incredible, he was killing it. Justin Horniker put out on Twitter today that he was one of the top players in dribbles in the entire league, 6th in the league, I think he was. I mean, that's up there with the top players in this entire league. He wasn't. I mean, he was taking a leap, but I mean, he was taking an absolute magnitude of a leap. I mean, this was 5 to 9 on a Richter scale magnitude of a leap. This was a guy going from nothing to a potential star in this league, and to see it get cut out from under him like that, quite literally, it was heartbreaking.
It was heartbreaking, and you're right, dude. He was making this enormous leap in just everything, and I wonder, and I hate this. This is the what if of the devil here, but like if the team were performing better and he wasn't. I don't know. I almost saw him feeling like or looking like he was thinking that he had to make up for some other things.
That's
and he was
his
going 110%, and I know that was his mind. I know that he would do that kind of stuff. Whether we were top of the league or not, but I just like I said, the devilish what if in me is like, what if the team weren't performing so badly, would he have gone in exactly how he did right there? Like you said, he's having a career season, and you just think, man, they're saying it's going to be at least a 9-month rehab, if not more. And you wonder, man, we're talking about this bright end of the summer with these other players coming in, maybe help turning things around. Pompeu just could have skyrocketed into stardom if he had a bit more help on this field. And it's just it's something that we're going to pray about and cross our fingers for next season, because we won't see him until then.
You're right about that. And I do want to say that did force an early change out, and Thorisson came in. And I thought, again, nobody wants to hear it because it was a bad game. I thought that was the best game that we've seen from Thorisson since he got here last year. I thought, other than the very bad moment where he was so far up the right side that when Thomas Totland turned to make the very routine pass he always makes up the right side, Thorisson was 20 yards away from where he was supposed to be, and it led to a counterattack that Dallas almost scored on. And other than that play, and after that play, Thorisson actually had a very solid game, and you're going to need that because you're getting thin now at the wings too, because you'd already lost Ostrak, who while he was playing in the center midi because of Leuven's injury, the plan with the way he would have been playing would have been he would have gotten a lot of minutes, I think, as one of your outside tens in that rotation. So you lose him for the whole year. Rasmus Alm is going to be lost for a little bit of time. He's not going to be available for the next couple games, so you're minus him, and now you're minus Pompeu. You're down to a very thin group of players in your attacking midfield and your winger group. And so Nukvi Thorisson's probably going to have to play more. I would very much certainly think so. And so we're going to need to see more of those games, and we're going to need to see lapses like the one he had early to start getting more few and far between, I should say.
It's going to be an interesting couple of weeks. We have two matches we'll talk about in just a minute coming up this week, Wednesday and Saturday. But first, let's talk a little bit about some positive things. And you were mentioning the holes in the defense maybe being filled by some City 2 players. Well, if there's any time to rely on them, it's now. City 2 continued its win streak to 4 games with a 1-0 victory over Houston Dynamo 2. Get this, St. Louis now sits atop the MLS Next Pro standings with 30 points. They overtook Philadelphia Union 2, and one of the things is their defense stepping up. Their defense has been stepping up, kept the 4th clean sheet of the season. That is the 20th victory as head coach for Bobby Murphy with City 2. They're now 4-1-2 at home this season, and things are going well. So listen, if their defense is playing with some confidence and looking to make a mark, this is the time to pull them up and see what happens.
I would expect to see Wenzel get the call up because of you have health at the fullback spots right now. So Tyson Pierce, who plays left back for City 2, I don't know enough about Tyson Pierce to know if he can play center back. That's a question I have for some people down at City Park that I'm going to ask on Wednesday, but I don't know yet. I would think that based on that, Yarrow and Nerwinski will probably be your starting center backs. Totland, and then I think just because they're going to give him a chance against his former team, Marcanic will probably be back starting at the left back spot. So that would be what I would expect. Obviously, don't be surprised if Wenzel comes up and gets a start. Carnell talked about it in his press conference or to start the week about how, when you have a system that everyone's playing at all levels, it really can be a plug and play kind of thing. And they can have a lot of confidence in guys like Wenzel who've been in the system for so long and who have been playing and practicing with the first team multiple times across the last 2 years. So I think we will see Wenzel. If it's a start, I'm not sure. But it would be nice to also see with the thing we just talked about with the lack of wingers and attacking midfielders, more Glover, more Klein, and maybe even Brendan McSorley, who has showed out as one of your super draft picks from this past year. It'd be incredible if they got two different super draft picks playing time in the same year. That would be pretty impressive when you think about how little most teams usually get from the super draft. So I think there's definitely some chances for a lot of the young players from City 2 to get a chance. I guess for me the big one is, do they find a spot for Tyson Pierce to give some time at left back? Because he apparently, from what I've seen reported, has been very impressive.
It's going to be interesting to see these roster changes, especially with 2 home matches 3 days apart. So Wednesday, St. Louis City SC will host Colorado Rapids. That is Wednesday at 7:30. Yes, of course, it's on MLS Pass. You can also see it there at City Park. Pardon me. Now, the Rapids currently sit 6th in the Western Conference. They have no game. I mean, they've played the max amount of games so far. But they're looking better than everyone had expected in the early season. And then, who did everybody expect things from that's not looking all that great? That's who we will host on Saturday, and that's Atlanta, 13th in the East right now. And I don't know, man. I'm going into these things positive because what do we have to lose? Momentum?
Well, here's some positivity. Colorado, obviously a lot better than they were last year. They currently sit at an even goal differential. They scored 30. They scored 31. They've allowed 31. Both of those numbers are a little bit different than their XG. They've scored 3 more than their XG says they should have, but they've allowed 7 more than their XG says they should have. And the big reason that is because Zach Steffen is struggling this year. He's based on the shots he's allowed or that he's faced from the Colorado defense. He should have only allowed about 23 goals, and he's allowed 31. So Maybe you don't have a goalie with octopus arms who's standing on his head like you just had this past week. Maybe some of those attempts from St. Louis City are still on target. Again, a season-high 8 shots on target against Dallas in the 2-0 loss. So can you get to those shots on target? Maybe they finally get past a goaltender who's struggling a little bit in Zach Steffen. That may be one thing. The other side is a combination of Colorado's been not as good here in the second 9 games as they were in the first 9 games. They went 4-3-2 in their first 9 games. They've lost 5 of their last 9 games, so they've struggled a little bit more than they did to start the season. And they're not great away from the altitude of Colorado, as they are 3 wins, 2 draws, and 5 losses away as well. So maybe a couple of those things all combine for a W for St. Louis City on Wednesday.
Yeah, and this will be the first time that Chris Armas, their head coach, and Carnell square off.
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing. Take a look at some of these wins. They're winning these games with very low possession because these guys are New York City Red Bull type guys, which means the style that they play, which is they do not want possession to win. A lot of their wins have come with low possession. A lot of their losses have come with high possession. A lot of their draws, too. So it's going to be an interesting competition of styles between 2 Red Bull boys in Armas and Carnell.
Definitely, it's going to be a bit. I expect a bit of a chess match, and it's going to be kind of who flinches first, or who does some sort of interesting move, because they come from the same playbook. They worked for years together over in New York Red Bull, so that's going to be a real interesting thing to kind of consider behind the scenes. The other behind the scenes thing that I just want to discuss and just throw out there, man, is I just wonder what is the tone in the dressing room? What is Carnell talking? How is he saying things to these guys to get them motivated? Is it a tone of we're better than this and we're very confident that we're going to destroy? Is there that confidence that came from last year and during last year? Are they sitting there saying we are better than this and we know that and we're going to perform? Or is it oh God, what are we doing? And of course, there's nothing going to be on the surface showing that their fear or their nervousness. But I just wonder, because on the field it doesn't seem like they're confident that they're better than
you're looking
this.
for hints in the wrong. You're looking for hints in the wrong quotes, Moon. If you want to know the message in the locker room, I think you just got to listen to Roman Berkey. And I think it's we're better than this, but I think maybe with a much more frustrated tone than you had.
Interesting. Well, Berkey's going to be on the Riz show here in a couple of days.
Ooh!
And I've never been really nervous about talking to any of these guys, but I'm nervous about this because I don't want to get upset. You know what I mean?
Hey, if there's anybody who's going to feel you if you get upset, it's going to be Berkey. He'll get upset with you. He's not happy.
Yeah, okay.
He is a perturbed gentleman right now. He is not a happy
As he should
guy.
be. As he should be, because he's the only one that is out there looking confident. And that's what I mean. Listen, you can go through losing streaks, you can go through all sorts of bad things, but it should, if you've got the confidence, if you've got the instincts, if you know you are better than this, like know it, not like tell yourself it and talk to yourself in the mirror. I mean, know it. Fiery, fiery, fiery passion. It's undeniable. You can see it. You can see it in Berkey. Play after play. You can see it when he's positive. You can see it when he's angry. He's got the passion, and he's delivering world-class performances. So can anybody else just fake it? Can you...
Fake it till you make it.
Not even fake it till you make it. I mean, can you just get delusional enough to really convince your own heart to be passionate out there?
I'm going to give you one person. Indiana Vassilev.
Okay. I'm still riding.
Really?
Listen. I'm still riding a high from the passion that I saw, or at least think I saw from him last season.
Okay.
I will say this season, when I'm watching him, I'm seeing a little bit of frustration, and it's not like Bruno Fernandez frustration or Michael Carrick frustration. It's like, and I'm always talking about United players just because I'm staring at these guys all the time.
Classic.
It's like I'm seeing a guy who's working really hard and is frustrated, and I don't know. I understand what you're saying, but I'm not 100% sold on that yet. Whereas Berkey, he's just He knows that he's great, and that's what you should know. Every single person out there has made it to world-class soccer, so you should know that you're great. You should show me that you know that you're great. The passion on the field should just be stupid, even if especially when you're losing, especially when you're letting yourself down. The players that make the difference in this planet, that inspire young people to want to play this game and sacrifice all you have to play professional anything, it's never in question on the field. And I hate to say it, I question 80% of their true passion out there. I'm not talking about passion, loving what they do or enjoying
You really think there's no difference?
You really think
there's no difference in the confidence of being the backup at Dortmund for 8 years versus grinding for minutes at Hoffenheim? You think it doesn't affect the confidence maybe a little bit?
Listen,
just overall, that's all I'm saying.
Confidence is such a strange thing, but I don't think it's the same thing as passion. And you and I think we disagree on this because we're always texting each other and yelling at each other about who's passionate and who's not. But I don't know, man. I can't grade passion. How can I grade passion just by watching a guy play? I can grade effort a little bit, but I can grade effort more than – I don't like grading effort, but I can grade effort more than passion. That's hard. Yeah, passion's a hard thing to just see on a football field. Maybe. I don't know. I totally see what you're saying, and objectively
well, I love Carnell, but they use the word bravery a lot for a word that means a lot of things that's hard to quantify.
Yeah, that's cutesy. I'm not going to say bravery. And I mean passion. There's no better word for it. Instincts and passion. I feel like when you see it, it's undeniable, and that's something that cannot be taken.
This team plays a bad match, and you go to I didn't see enough passion, and see that my thing is that it blows my mind that there are fans who do that only because you're never going to get an answer from that. If that's your question, did they have enough passion to win that game? You're never going to get an answer. You can ask a lot. There's so many better questions to ask than did my team have enough passion in that game? You're never going to get an answer. It's a bad question.
No, I totally disagree. Here's the thing. Because there are ways to lose. You can lose and be respectable. You can lose well. You can lose and still no one can question what you just did, what you just laid down, nobody is on this planet except for you and the wind that you are fighting dragons to get. And it's undeniable. It can be seen. And of course, it's hard to judge. But that's our freaking job here, Rocc. We're supposed to talk on microphones about these people's performances.
I know, but it's I'm just saying is I can judge a lot of things about a player. I can't go into his head and judge his passion. Now, again, if you have a quote from a player and he says something post-game about it, I'm not saying you can't react to players actually giving you things. I'm just saying it's hard for me to watch, 90-something minutes of soccer and come away with the moment and be like, I don't know if Akil Watts had the passion there, or if simply maybe there was that one time where the guy's faster than him and he couldn't catch up and therefore the goal was scored. They's on scholarship too. The other team's getting paid as well.
Yeah. I'm not talking about individual plays. I'm talking about an entire 94 minutes of play.
I know, but what moment was I supposed? What moment in this game did there was no moments I thought in this City loss where it hit me. Oh, they don't have passion right now. There was a lot where I said they're not in there.
Wow.
No, I'm saying there's a lot where I said they're not in their right heads right now because they are heartbroken for one of their favorite teammates. But at no point when they are controlling the ball for the middle 50 minutes of the game, and yet every shot they take is careening off to the side or Passes making some ridiculous fingertip save. At no point am I thinking if they just had a little bit more passion, the ball would have gone in there.
No, I'm not saying that. This isn't even plays. I mean, you can make 100 mistakes and be a total buffoon. I mean, I'm not going to say him by name, but there was an idiot that played in the Premier League. This guy was clearly
say his name.
No way. He was just a dense dude. You could tell he was a total idiot. And at the same time, you could never question his passion, even if he wasn't instinctual for his position.
I don't know why you would ever say that about Wayne Rooney.
Or no, I'm not talking about Rooney, but I'm just saying that you can make mistakes. You can not show instincts or whatever in 100 different ways, but still not be really questionable when it comes to your passion. Listen, dude, I'm the crazy fan. I'm a crazy person, and I understand what I'm saying is ridiculous. I fully admit that. But what I want to see, I want to see crazy people. I want to see that that this is only a 10-year career if you're lucky, and you need to be insane every minute you're on television playing soccer.
We need to do a live watch of the next City game, and we need to do fix up like a button. Like give you a button that fixes up to like a buzzer on the live stream, and whenever you think that you're watching a moment where there's a lack of passion, you just hit the button. You hit the button, and like alarm goes off on the live stream. Everyone's like, "It's Moon's passion watch," and we can try to hone in on the player who's not showing enough passion for Moon.
I'm just telling you, it makes the difference because there are people out there that
so
guys just handed.
Finishing makes the difference.
But I'm just saying, like some people have just been literally handed and covered and laid upon with skill and talent. And some people haven't, and they've had to have passion make up for it. These guys clearly all have natural skill and training and a history of their entire lives that have got them to this position. And if you can't show me once a week for 90 minutes that this is the most important thing on the planet to you, and it doesn't have to be off the field. Like there are bigger things in this world than soccer. But what I'm saying is if you can't show me that in those 90 minutes that nothing else can even touch your thoughts, touch your confidence. What I'm saying, here's what I mean by passion and instincts when it comes to this. There are times when our team has lost a half or lost a game, and this happens to everybody, by the way. I'm not just singling out our guys, where you can tell like the other team like got the best of them up here. And this is what I mean. Like passion's like, yeah, it's in the heart, whatever. But it's like it's here. It's like consuming. And I want crazy people up here that have such.
You have been very consistent about the want for crazy people.
Thick heads that nobody can touch you.
Slap
no one
heads.
Can take your confidence. Even that missed opportunity, that great save from the keeper. You're just angry that you haven't had more and you want it back. I want it back. I want another. I'm gonna get another. Crazy people. Give me more crazy, Rocc.
I also want the players to have very thick heads, but honestly, it's just so that like Thorisson can put a little bit more oomph on his headers. That was a great cross by Watts and a great positioning by Thorisson, but just like a little bit more on the header, maybe Thor. Come on, buddy.
Brick heads, dude.
Like you're Icelandic. You got that Viking. Where's that Viking DNA in you? Just get it in there. Come on, buddy.
Yeah.
First of all, all I could think of while you were going on that very good explanation, rant if you will, was that you would make an incredible you. Please go as Jamie Tart for Halloween next year. You would be a perfect Jamie Tart. I don't know if anyone's ever told you that, but you could pull off some ridiculously good Jamie Tart from Ted Lasso cosplay. I don't know if anyone's ever said that, but it's true.
I'm worried as to which season you're referencing because he's a totally.
I'm going with season 1. Not attitude. Just look. I'm just saying. Just look. Because he's got like this. Okay. He's got like the flippy. He's got like the Backstreet Boys like flip swoosh going on in the 3rd season. And I don't want you doing that, Moon. We don't. That's it. It doesn't fit the aesthetic. It doesn't fit the guitars. No. I'm saying season 1 look. Just spiky hair. Take it back to like 2004 a little bit for you. But anyhow, I agree with you. I actually think passion is a great way to put it, and I think there's a lot of fans who are going to side with you on that one much more than they're going to side with me. With that said, Moon, we're running out of time, so we need just a little quick predictions here for Wednesday's matchup against the Rapids. I know the predictions have not gone well for us, so will you go with the reverse jinx and predict a loss here, or are you going to keep on rolling with the positivity and a City W?
I don't know, man. I'm so not a jinx guy. I'm so not a superstitious sort of dude. But I don't know. Why don't you take that? Because somebody should. I'm starting to believe it. I still think we still have a good opportunity here to do something. If the defense can just hold it for a bit and maybe give some time for that passion and confidence to hit the offense, and we got maybe we get an early goal, dude. I still think we can pull off a 2-0 if they just don't make Berkey work so gosh dang hard.
I'm going to go a very different way. Rafael Navarro has 10 goals. Cole Bassett has 6, and Jordi Mihailovic has 5. I do not see an injured backline for City stopping an improved Colorado Rapids squad. If City wins this game, They win this game 3-2.
Wow, you see 5 goals. These guys can't score anything, and you see them scoring 3?
Hey, they were 6 total goals against Inter Miami.
You're right. I change it. 2-1. 2-1.
There you go.
City. 2-1 City.
I'm saying if City wins, it's a 3-2 win. I think a 2-2 draw is more likely. I don't see this being a scoreless game because I think I think the dam's gonna break. City's gonna get 1 or 2, and I'm not trying to take a shot against Yaro or Nowinski or any of the guys. It's just when you have to make this many changes, this many times on this short of a schedule, it's hard to keep a back line together. It's hard to keep cohesion, and I just think we'll see 1 or 2 things slip through. And, it's the same way that the dam will break a little bit with City's scoring on the other end, Berkey's got to have an average game at some point, so maybe he lets in 2 on 4 or 5 shots.
It would be a terrible idea if any of these players ever listen to our podcast. I sincerely hope you're not listening. But if you are, defense, just play like it's your field, man, because it is your field. It's your patch.
I feel like we're pretty nice to the players. They can listen to this just fine. Come on, guys.
I probably don't come off very cool, but that's, whatever. This is my job. That's your job.
I'll look them in the face, and they'll yell at me for it.
Yeah. No, listen, I would love to be out there screaming and getting screamed at. It'd be fine. But defense, just like this is your patch. Like, have confidence. It doesn't matter if you're up from 2, if you're off the bench, or you're one of the starters that we've demanded more from. Like, just have some confidence. And in those reactions, even if you're beat, like, just play like this is yours, and it's not their place to beat you again. It's not their place to score. It's your ball. It's your patch. Let's get it. I still think St. Louis and Atlanta, I think that will probably be a draw. It will be a letdown. It'll be a 1-1 match. That's my prediction for Saturday. Okay, Saturday. I got to see what happens on Wednesday. I'll tweet out my Saturday prediction because I'm not ready for a Saturday. I got to see what happens Wednesday first, Moon. I'm game by game at this point. Until July 18th, I'm game by game. All right. Well, this has been fun. I'm all riled up now, and this is like in the middle of my nap time. I'm going to have difficulty. Oops. So I will catch you later. Thank you for joining us, Rocc. Appreciate all you do. Thanks for bringing those graphs and all the good information. Celio, Pompeu, you are in our prayers, and all the best, man. From Soccer 101 to us, our families, and everybody in this community, we hope a fast recovery, a great rehab, and I cannot wait to see you back on the field. Good luck, AZ Jackson over in Columbus Crew, and Rocc, you freaking rule, dude. You're the best, Moon. Thanks for letting me nerd out on soccer. No one else will. Yeah, brother. Yeah. Well, thanks for letting me yell and rant, and we'll leave you with a go! A little addendum onto the episode because we have breaking news as soon as we stopped recording. Unfortunately, I can't have Moon here for this, but St. Louis City SC, 60 seconds after we closed out, sent out a tweet. They have agreed to terms on the transfer of All-for-City defender Nicolas Duyer to Danish Superliga side Randers FC. This is also the final piece of the Marcel Hartel news that we talked about earlier. We talked about the discovery fee aspect of it. We talked about how the AZ Jackson trade fits in with it, but this is the other side. To get Marcel Hartel, the German international, St. Louis City was going to have to open up one of their international roster spots for this year. Well, Nicolas Duyer was taking up one of those spots, and clearly he hadn't integrated himself at that left back spot as quickly as St. Louis City hoped, and so it's Nicolas Duyer who will be out on a transfer to Randers FC of the Danish Superliga, and that's going to open up that international roster spot. I would expect the Marcel Hartel news to be confirmed in the next couple days. Again, Marcel Hartel, the big name from St. Pauli's that St. Louis has been circling ever since his transfer to Columbus failed. They are also in line to pay the $350,000 fee to Columbus for his discovery rights and then get around to signing him. A big deal again for St. Louis City. We talked about it earlier in the pod. Apparently, according to Transfer Market, there was a Champions League team that was circling Marcel Hartel. So good job by St. Louis City getting all their ducks in the row. One team in the MLS already failed to get a move for Hartel across the finish line. So here you go for City. They're opening up GAM money for the discovery rights move. They've now opened up the international roster spot. And it seems to me the next thing is to just simply announce the move for Marcel Hartel, which would be the third move for that July 18th transfer window alongside Jake Gerwood-Schmidt, the
center back / center midi, and of course Cedric Teuchert, the striker, also coming from Germany. This has been a little Soccer 101 addendum. We'll be back in a couple days talking about the Colorado Rapids and maybe talking about the finalization of that Marcel Hartel deal. This has been Soccer 101. For Moon Valjean, I'm Matthew Rocchio. Have a great day, St. Louis.